everyone, Nerd Squared here. I'm gonna do a video real quick here on the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl speedrun, specifically with the any percent category. And there's a couple of reasons I decided to do it as its own standalone video instead of just uploading my PB and leaving it at that. One is because I want to use this as a video to submit the game with for future marathons and things like that. And also, I promised on Twitter that I would do a commentary of this run once my personal best was below 17 minutes, and it's below 17 minutes right now. In fact, the time I got with this run is a 16:58, which is pretty good. It's 11th place on the leaderboard right now, about a minute and a half behind the world record, which is pretty good. I also wanted to do this video just because this game has been popping off pretty hard in terms of speedruns. It's been broken apart to practically to smithereens, and so I just wanted to do a video explaining the run and a little bit of what goes into it. One thing I do want to note before going into this is that this specific category, any percent that I did in this run, was done on the 1.1.1 patch of the game, which is not the current patch. The current patch is 1.1.2. 1.1.2 patched out a lot of the glitches that you'll see in this run. There are some that you can do in 1.1.2, but the way that we do it in that version is not as potent as the methods that we use in 1.1.1. And you'll definitely see that in this run, especially if you've seen any speedruns of 1.1.2 and then watch this. But yeah, let's get into it. Very first thing, play on English because that's the standard language for speedruns of the game. So I think the very first thing I can talk about is mashing, because obviously text mashing is a pretty big part of Pokemon and RPG speedruns. Mashing in this game is awful, because I'll demonstrate really quickly here with this DualSense controller. ZL, ZR, and A act as interact buttons in this game. And to mash text optimally in this game, you have to mash all three of those buttons all at once and really hard. And not only do you have to mash it really hard, but you also have to mash it like that constantly. Because text mashing, or text boxes, I mean, scroll really weirdly in this game. So you have to mash really hard all the time to get the text to scroll as fast as possible. Even with fast text speed, which is really odd. So it becomes really hard in your hands. So much so that there's actually been a separate subcategory created for this game for using turbo controllers. For this run in particular, I used no turbo functionality whatsoever, because that's just my preferred way to play the game. So real quickly there, I did some typical settings for Pokemon speedruns. But one really odd thing you'll notice is that I turned the music all the way down to 0. Which is for a good reason. I didn't just do that because of preference. It actually saves time, because turning the music volume down to 0 like that skips every jingle in the game. To be going to specifics, I believe it skips jingles that play when you pick up items, a Pokemon learns a move, a Pokemon levels up, and when you pick up a key item, and when you defeat a gym leader and obtain their badge. So it saves a lot of time. I'm not sure the exact time save for any percent, but in glitchless, it's around 5 minutes, which is huge. For an actual showcase of this for a marathon, I would keep the music on though, just so it wouldn't be awkward silence the whole run. So as we go into this first battle, I want to explain one of the main glitches that we do in the run, because once we get past this first battle with the Starly, after we get our starter, things get really strange really fast. So the main glitch that we do in this run is something called menu storage. So this game was not developed by Game Freak. It was outsourced to a development company called ILCA. And you can definitely tell they cut a few corners with this game, because it's not very stable. There's a lot of points, at least on this patch, where it can crash seemingly at random. But one big thing that happened with this patch, or at least with this game in the early patches, was the fact that if you do two rapid fire inputs right after another of a button, say A or B, just to give some examples, it does not process that very well. With the A button in particular, you can accidentally like cause two of the same thing to overlap. Say you accidentally press A really quickly on uh, a button prompt, and it's mostly malign in most cases, but with menus in particular, if you do two rapid fire confirm presses, which you can do pretty easily with the shoulder buttons of the controller, as I showed you earlier, you can essentially overlay two menus on top of each other. And that's really the key to this whole run, is overlaying menus on top of each other. By doing that, you can interrupt certain events in the game to glitch it out really hard. Because by interrupting menus in the game, or events in the game with this overlaid menu, we can clip out of bounds, avoid encounters and trainers, as you'll see in a second. A lot of really fun stuff. So this intro is pretty standard. It's mostly glitchless up to this point, besides, of course, turning the music off. But once we get out of here, we're going to do our first menu storage when we get the running shoes. Because we want to go to Jubilife for something that we need for a glitch later. But on the way, we'd normally have to do a lot of encounters, and there's a few trainers we'd have to fight, and of course there's a cutscene where we'd have to get the Pokedex and name our starter. But we can skip that by doing a menu storage on the store. But this one's a little interesting because we're actually going to do two menu storages. So I'm going to do one menu storage there. Alright. So what I did there is I did two menu storages. I backed out of the second or first menu storage until I got to that screen where it showed the main menu with all the different options. As soon as I got to that screen, I'm able to move again, because the game thinks I don't have a menu open, even though I do. And then I go into the door leading to my mom's house, but then I interrupt that by canceling out the menu, which gives me movement. And then I can just run around after that. And when you cancel the door animation like that, it puts the game in this weird state where everything in the game is frozen, including trainers and NPCs. So you can just walk through the entire route without getting any encounters and without finding any trainers. And we're already in the first, I guess technically second city of the game. We're going here because... also, I did two menu storages there because after canceling out the door storage there, you're essentially soft locked. So to unsoft lock ourselves, we have to save and quit the game. That's the only viable way at this point in the run to actually get ourselves out of that frozen state. So we do that. We're going to Jubilife here because we need to go out of bounds pretty soon to go to the Pokemon League. I know, pretty big jump for this early in the game, but we're going to do an out of bounds in a few minutes to get to the Pokemon League. But doing double storage, as you saw with the door storage at the beginning, it's a little inefficient. So we have to use a key item for that instead, which is another way you can trigger a menu storage. But we can't just do it with one key item, we have to do it with two key items in order to get that key item menu to pop up. So we're going to do menu storage here. And I'm going to pull up the register menu and then pull up the bag, because the game thinks I'm not in the menu. So I can pull up the menu again while in the menu. I know it gets a little confusing. So that just lets me register two old rods there. And then I'm going to layer more menus here, but it's a little odd the way we do it here. So if you press the X, or in this case the plus button for the register menu, in that transition between the item menu and the register menu, or the key item menu and the summary, Pokemon summary, you can layer menus underneath the menu you currently have. And we use that to hold the text from that lady that kind of guards the GWS telling you it's not ready yet, in order to get a state called Legitate. So if we cancel the text as soon as we go over that ledge, we interrupt the animation of us going over the ledge, and because of that, we just end up stuck in the air, levitating. And this is the key to getting out of bounds later, because to get to the Pokemon League, which is obviously the very last area in the game, it's pretty high up, so we need a lot of height to get there. And I also did a key items menu storage underneath all that menu storaging, just to be able to free myself once I did the legitate trick. So after doing all that crazy stuff to hover in the air, I do another menu storage by layering one item menu under this menu right here, because I need one menu to cancel this text, and then another menu to be able to save and quit once we're done with this out of bounds. All of that I just did, I said we do it in a bit of a different way because we kind of layer menus on top of each other. We call that affectionately the menu sandwich, because all the different menus we were layering there were like the ingredients of a sandwich. In fact, it's gotten to the point where we've given all these different menus names. Like this main menu here is the bread, and the key item menu I used was we called ham. We did a ham bread I think it is for the first one to get legitate, and then bread to get out of bounds here. And you can't see it because I just have the menu up on the screen the whole time, but I'm actually moving with specific timing cues to get out of bounds. And this is the hardest part of the run, because if you make a mistake here, you can very easily get lost, and in some cases get soft locked if you save and load in the wrong spot. So yeah, I'm following a particular route here just by following specific timing cues, like, say, moving right for 25 seconds, moving up for 20 seconds, moving right for 20 seconds, or 5 seconds, I mean, so on and so forth. And by following this specific path, I will end up next to the Pokemon League. And ideally what will happen is I'll end up right next to the waterfall that leads into the Pokemon League, so I can run right in, no problem. There are a couple of stipulations with this, though. I did say this out of bounds is difficult. If you're not careful, there's a couple of, like, I guess you could say pockets of collision around the Pokemon League. And if you end up in those, you are soft locked with no way to save yourself. So, there are a couple of ways to back up the out of bounds if you're a little slightly off. But there are just some cases where you're stuck and can't do much about it. And even now, even though we have the run fully fleshed out, the out of bounds, while it is mostly consistent, does still involve a little bit of guesswork to figure out where you are. But I'm pretty familiar with this path, so got it pretty quickly. This category is actually very optimized, especially because of how short it is by now. The menu sandwiches I did in Jubilife earlier used to be a lot longer, but we've optimized it to be much shorter now, which saves a ton of time. Because I believe each additional layer of the sandwich you have to do is around 10 additional seconds. So we saved a lot of time there. This out of bounds was correct. I ended up behind the waterfall there, which is standard. I've also had it occasionally where I end up on the ledge above where I save and quit from while out of bounds, which is interesting. You can end up in wildly different places doing that out of bounds. You just have to get a feel for where you are. So as soon as we get in the league, which we're in right now, surprise, surprise, I'm going to do a double storage here, and I'm going to cancel it as soon as the black screen appears while I go on the escalator. That'll put me out of bounds here, so I can go behind this collision box right here. And there's a reason I'm going here. Going into the Elite Four, which I'll enter in just a second, we'd have to fight our rival, who, in this case, we named one. But we don't have any Pokemon, or good Pokemon to fight him with. At this point, we only have a level 5 Turtwig, and that's it. So we have to find creative ways to get around him, and the Elite Four members after him. And we do that by going behind here and just saving and exiting. By saving and exiting at that little floor area behind the door, it clips us into a collision box that surrounds the store, so you can go behind that guy who's supposed to check your badge count, and hit the trigger for the load screen for the door. So I'm doing some more menu sandwich stuff here. It's going to be ham, bread, ham. Yeah. But I'm doing a little bit of an optimized setup here, where I save the last layer of the sandwich until I get on the elevator. It just saves a little bit of time. So I'm going to hit the key item as I go through the door, which is around a 3-frame window, and then cancel out of the menu to regain movement, and then use the second key item to cancel and to have the animation play of me entering the Elite Four members' room, and then that puts me through the wall, so I can hit the load zone behind the exit to the room. And that movement is a little trickier than it looks because it involves a little bit of buffered movement. While you have the key item menu there, if you move the control stick too much, or like tilt the control stick too much, you activate the key items. So you have to be really careful not to activate it here. So I'll be doing this ham, bread, ham setup to skip the rest of the E4 members. Again, using the first key item when you go through the store like that, it's a roughly 3-frame window. But I've gotten pretty good at timing it. I basically use a visual cue of the main menu, the bread of the sandwich, lining up with the top of the door frame to the room. Once those 2 points meet, I use the key item to trigger a storing the door animation. In the past, and there's a reason we have to do all this convoluted stuff to get past the E4. Originally, we used to use a glitch where we could use polka dolls to immediately win these fights, but with this route, we completely skip getting polka dolls. So we have to find more creative ways to get past them, and we do that by just storing the door here. And doing all 4 of these in a run, since it is a 3-frame trick, is very nerve-wracking. So it just feels so nice when you get this all first try. So we're going to do one last skip to get past Cynthia here. It involves you can do it 2 different ways. I prefer to do it this way. You do 2 ham breads. I use ham bread. I cancel out of the cutscene there with Cynthia by hitting canceling out the pause menu, and then I cancel out of her dialogue by using the key item. And I move very slightly in order to not trigger the key item in order to get up to the elevator. And then I do another ham bread once I get to the top of this elevator. I cancel out of the cutscene by canceling out the pause menu again, and then I regain movement by canceling out of the key item. That just skips the first half of a series of cutscenes in the Hall of Fame here. So I completely ignore Cynthia and Rowan, and we just go straight into the Hall of Fame. A lot of that happened really fast. I hope I explained it well. This speedrun is nuts. It's so much fun, and it's been a lot of fun breaking this game apart. Like, I took a hiatus, actually, from Pokemon speedrunning since 2019, I want to say, roughly. And this game coming out got me back into it, and I'm very thankful for this game having done that. I've been going pretty hard in this game lately, and this is a really fun category that I think would be really good to show off. There's so much going on, I just think it would be great to showcase. And like I said, this category is pretty optimized. Right now, my PB is 1658, but there's a lot of people on the leaderboards, primarily Japanese runners, interestingly enough, that have... The times that the Japanese runners have managed to pull off are just insane. The optimization they've achieved with this category is on another level. So I don't think I'll get anywhere close, but I want to try to get a pretty decently close time, probably like maybe 1630 or 1620 in the future. So hopefully that'll happen. And I will definitely submit this to future marathons, especially SGDQ, which hopefully that marathon's in person, but we'll see. That all happened really fast, but again, I hope I explained it pretty well. That's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching.